What's going on, guys? It is 10:06. It's a little late to be doing one of these, but I got to bust it out because, again, I'm a couple days late. I was supposed to do it on Sunday after I did episode 37 because I was late on that one too. But I'm attempting to catch up, and I'm going to do my best to. This is actually going to be a pretty quick episode of Dispersing the Cloud. This is episode 38, and we're going to be talking about Ernest Hemingway's A Movable Feast. First, I want to do a little recap of my week. We did the Grape Festival with the band Kingdom. If you guys don't know, I'm doing some pad work for a band called Kingdom out of Lodi. That's some of the guys from Awaken Worship who did the tour with me, the As You Are tour. They have a band called Kingdom, and they're doing some more writing. I'm really excited about their EP. Their EP is going to drop here, I think, in a couple weeks. I've already got to listen to it, and it's phenomenal. Right after we played the Grape Festival on Sunday, I bolted up to Fresno to meet up with KCO, talk a little bit about the podcast that we're starting up in Fresno, and pick up Sling Studio. Boom. I'm really jazzed about this. So Sling Studio is really, really new. It's basically a wireless hub, and this wireless hub sends out a Wi-Fi signal to your iPad, and your iPad basically becomes your studio mix for different video outlets. Like for my podcast, basically I'm going to have a camera here, and then I'll have two other cameras, and you guys will eventually see me sitting here with my iPad set up like yay, and during the podcast I'll be swiping and doing a couple things, and the camera angle will change. The reason I do that is because our attention spans are so short that it's going to be nice to be able to get 2-3 different views. That way you guys stay with me, and I can keep you a little bit entertained during these 30-40 minute recaps of my weeks. Unfortunately, I had a really hard time with this. I actually spent a lot of time on the phone with a tech trying to get it to work. And so far, it hasn't worked. So it might be a problem with this particular one. We might take it back and get a new one. But I even bought a new iPad because my old iPad didn't have the right software for it. So I spent a bunch of money. Obviously, I wasn't happy about that. I'm never happy when I spend money. But it still didn't work. So that went down. I got to have breakfast with my buddy Ian Bender. We got to talk about life. We got to talk about music. We're actually gonna meet up, and we have a business e-card program that we're putting out. So if you guys run your own business, or you do sales or anything like that, it's basically a program to help you guys improve your referrals. If you know anything about sales, referrals is really the main way you get business, and the way we ask for referrals in business is really, really bad. But like, hey, I just sold you something, will you give me names and numbers of your friends? It's a horrible way to ask. So we actually came up with a much better way, and we're going to roll that program out in the next couple weeks. So we're talking about that, and we're talking about licensing all these songs. So I have all these songs. I have 5 songs now on iTunes, and my struggle is, like, they're licensed as far as, like, I own them, but I don't have the copyrights on them yet. I just haven't put them out there. And legally speaking, like, they're online. They're posted to they're posted to iTunes. So if it came up to where I felt someone was stealing my songs, I really believe that because of the digital age, it's like a digital marker. Like, hey, I put it on the internet on this date. This guy copywrote his song on this date. Clearly mine was first. I should be okay in court on that, but to be safe, I got to go through ASCAP, and I got to go through the U.S. Patent Office, or the Copyright Office. And so we're going to get together, and we're going to basically have a copyright party and make sure that we get all these songs that I've been working on, that he's been working on, that Kingdom's been working on, get them all lined up, get everything copywritten, just so we have all of our bases covered. It's always awesome to have breakfast. You know, part of the process that I'll talk about, I didn't put it in my notes, but it's in there now. I'll talk about it a little later, is having people that you can shoot and bounce ideas off, especially when you're trying to do your own thing. Slingcast, we talked about that. Web building. So I mentioned this last week in the video, but I started to build websites Part of the reason is because it's very difficult. The speed that I want to go needs to be edit, and it's tough to call somebody and then have them do it and then find another problem and call them and have them do it and find another problem. And then it costs you more money than you just hopping on and knowing how to do it yourself. So I spent a good 6 to 7 hours learning, and probably maybe 10 hours total building it. So I built a website for my wedding planning business. We launched last week, over the weekend. We launched our flower club. We launched the website. It's called Her Something Blue. You guys can find it by looking up hsbweddingplanning.com. The URL is eventually going to be much simpler than that, but I had some trouble switching the domain that we bought from one carrier over to the other. So I'm going to tackle that probably next week, or 2 weeks from now. I'm all tied up next week, and I'll tell you guys about that. And then, okay, we talked a little bit about the flower club. Really, I'm going to spend the majority of this episode of Dispersing a Cloud on the process. One, I want to talk about, we're definitely over 60 books now. I think we're at like 62 or 63. I got to look at how many books I've read. So mission accomplished, but I'm not a millionaire yet. However, fluidity of speaking, being able to comprehend or be able to put out the information that I want to put out in a comprehensive manner has been much easier for me. My friends have mentioned how I'm becoming more articulate with my words, and my vocab's improved quite a bit. My business sense and my drive has definitely went through the roof. A year ago, I had no interest in building websites, and now I have my first e-commerce website, to where potentially I can dive into drop shipping that we talked about with Timothy Ferriss. I know how to make an e-commerce site, so I literally can go find a manufacturer, find a product that they will ship one at a time, and start building a site out of products, and then just advertise my site. So that's definitely something that can build into more residual income. We talked about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, creating an asset column of things that make you money without you doing anything. One of the exciting things that I'm pumped about for this flower program that we have with the Her Something Blue is it can be opened up to any city in America. I would just need someone in that city who would be willing to make our design for the month. So the way that the Flower Club works is each month you get a new floral design that we will have our design, whoever designs it is going to blog about it on our site, on our Her Something Blue, I changed this stupid URL. It's S, I gotta get used to saying it. hsbweddingplanning.com. God, it's so horrible. I had to come up with one on the fly because I couldn't wait. I wanted to launch without our URL. Our URL will eventually be hersomething.blue, and we already own that one. I just gotta attach it. So one of the things that's super exciting is through the Flower Club, I can have any person in any city be a representative of us, and we can open it up. Right now we are in Lodi, Oakdale, and Sonora. Our next city will probably be Sacramento, Elk Grove, Davis area, and we're going to expand from there. I'd like to hit up Fresno before the end of the year. So if you know anybody who loves to do flowers that is not in one of those cities that I just mentioned, have them hit me up. I'll tell them how it works to be a part of Her Something Blue Flower Club as far as a distributor, and we'll put you guys on our system. You can make some money. So we're super pumped about that, and it opens up a huge door for me to be mobile. That's kind of another thing in the process. I have told a bunch of people how awesome it is for me to be able to be mobile. You know, part of the reason why I do what I do is because I can be mobile. I can be mobile. I can go wherever I want. I can do whatever I want. I had an opportunity recently to not to rethink that, but I got called out by one of my friends and said, "You're not putting that to practice. You can be wherever you want, and right now you're in a safe space. I'm in my hometown. I'm not in the fire. I'm relaxed. I'm on easy street. I know everybody. Everybody knows me, and there is no grind. I make about when I first started this process. This is kind of cool too. When I first started this process, I was making like $1,300 a month, kind of doing my own thing. I'm a pretty steady like $4,500 a month on income coming in now from Fragoza Media, not from the wedding planning at all. And so, but I'm super, super comfortable, meaning I'm not really, I'm busy, but I'm not crazy busy, to where, I can't sleep at night. I'm so busy. And, I'm going to be honest, when I am that busy, that's when I thrive. So, we'll see what happens in the next couple months of where I end up or where I'm going. I'm definitely giving it a lot of prayer and a lot of thought, but, I definitely see myself being more mobile than I have been in the last year. And so I'm going to start putting that to practice a little bit, and I'm excited about that. The other process is having people to shoot things off of. So I have Ian Bender, I got David Watson, I got my buddy Dallas out in Lodi, Ian up in Liberty Towers. I'm always shooting stuff off my buddy David Maddox, and my buddy Preston. And so when you're doing this stuff, as awesome as it is to be kind of autonomous and do your own thing, if you don't have a team of people with you, you still have to like meet with people. You have to set up meetings to have somewhere to go, to have someone to talk to, so you can bounce these ideas off people and actually get some feedback. I finished a couple new songs last week, and I posted them, and sometimes you get feedback on the post, sometimes you don't, but I played them for this thing called Charis that we do. Charis is Greek for grace, and we meet once a month with a bunch of musicians and people who really love Christ out in Lodi, and we just get together and eat food and have some wine and play some worship music and just talk about life. And so for this thing, Charis, I played one of my new songs, and me and Ian got to sit down and talk about it and talk about the direction of the song and the direction of these other projects that I have going on, the direction of me being mobile. And so those are all the things that I got to talk about last week with him. But if I didn't have people in my life, or if I wasn't setting up meetings for myself, then all of it would be pointless, or all of it would be very hard to facilitate new ideas, because I would just be bouncing ideas off me and the wall. All that being said, I think the book that I read this week, A Movable Feast by Hemingway, I think it really fits into all of that. The Movable Feast, the idea that you can go anywhere and do anything. He writes this as he's working on a couple different books. He's writing this as his experience in Paris as a writer. And so as his experience in Paris as a writer, he's going back and forth between conversations that he's having with interesting characters, and he's sitting down and he's doing this. He's setting up lunch meetings. He's setting up trips just to find things to write about. When you have writer's block, one of the things that I like to do is stop writing and just go out and just start walking around. I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to drive to Sacramento, and I'm going to meet with somebody completely unrelated to writing, but getting me in the car, getting my mind off writing, usually brings to light something. I just posted on my Facebook page a song that I wrote last week called Secrets. And that was a really cool, interesting process for me, because I wrote that before I took a trip. I took a trip to Missouri, and I wrote a little piece of it, and it was just the "You Know My Secrets," and it wasn't even the words. It was like da na 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 na. It was just the melody, right? And so I had that melody, and when I came back from my trip, that melody just turned into these two amazing songs. It ended up being a song called Secrets, and another song I wrote at the exact same time called Piano Man. And so I'm super excited to share those with people, but I think one of the things that I'm realizing in the process is making sure that I have meetings lined up with people for lunches, for dinners, for breakfasts, just to talk. For breakfast, just to talk about the projects that I have, to stimulate ideas that I can carry those out. Shut off this notification here. Grace, what's going on? Thanks for watching. And so, a movable feast. Let me jump into it. So, Ernest Hemingway is talking about his experience, and I do have some quotes. This was probably the most notable quote that I had from Movable Feast, this first one. The one who is doing his work and getting satisfaction from it is not the one that poverty bothers. Recently, I got to experience a little bit of this on my trip, because when I took a trip to Salt Lake with some friends, and I didn't know everybody, so I met a bunch of new people, and I told a lot of people about what I do and what I'm doing, and you could tell that it bothered a lot of people when they heard what I'm doing. They would take a step back, or almost like, oh, I don't know if that's a great idea, maybe you shouldn't be doing that. And it definitely, I can see a relation to my family. I can see a relation to the people around me who love me. It doesn't bother me that I don't have but one pair of shoes. It doesn't bother me that I have like maybe 4 shirts and 1 pair of pants. It doesn't bother me that I sleep on couches most of the time. But I'm doing the work that I want to do, and I'm gaining satisfaction from it. So it shouldn't bother me. I'm not the one who's being bothered. And I thought that was super insightful by Hemingway. He's talking about his wife, actually. So when they're in Paris, he's there as a writer, and they're going from check to check with whatever project he turns in that gets him some money, right? And they were very poor during that time, and she couldn't buy clothes. And he remembers, like, her vividly being upset about that, but not verbally upset, but just emotionally. Like, you could just tell something bothers someone. So I got to experience that a couple weeks ago, and this was a good realization for me, and of stepping up my level of intensity when it comes to the things that I do. Like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, I'm not in the fire right now. It's very easy for me to do what I do here in my hometown, my home area, my home counties, because everybody knows who I am. I got a bunch of resources, and it's easy. One of the things that I am lacking is I have this free time to where I could be having a full-time job as a music leader or minister in a church, or just working for a church, and still be around music to where I'm still doing my things on the weekend and still doing books during the day. So all of the income that I'm bringing in right now, which is, like I said, over $4,000 a month, that could all be supplemental to an actual full-time job if I ramped it up somewhere. So that might be the next phase. I just got challenged by one of my buddies, David Razzo, to jump into the fire. He's like, go somewhere you don't know anybody, dude. Go somewhere where you have no connections. Put yourself up against a wall, because that's where you're best. I've been up against the wall many, many times in my life, including when I first came here, not having a job at all and not knowing what I wanted to do, and then jumping back into music full go. And I think I make my best decisions when I'm up against the wall. So in the next couple months, I think I'll make a more aggressive move in that direction, and then continue doing the things that I do to supplement something a little more stable. Because, to be honest, it would put the people in my life who I love and care about, it would put their minds at ease. It doesn't bother me. Like, I don't care where my next meal comes from. I don't care where I'm going to be next week. It doesn't bother me at all. But the people that I care about, it does bother. And I want to be able to give them some peace of mind, knowing that I'm a little more stable, just so they can rest easy at night. The next quote is, hunger is a great discipliner. hunger is one of those things, and I experienced hunger a lot when cutting weight, but Hemingway's talking about hunger, physical hunger of being hungry, really does a great job of refocusing you. And I think that's why I kind of liked the poverty thing. That's why I kind of like not knowing where my money's coming from, not knowing if I can pay my bills, being behind on my bills. Rich Dad Poor Dad talks about this a lot, because it makes your mind think. Right now, just to be like full disclosure, I have a loan out for 10 grand, personal loan. I have a $7,000 personal loan out. My car is about 7 grand. I have $100,000 in student loans out. I have about 3 or 4 credit cards that have a couple grand on them each. And I'm looking at like a total of like maybe $140,000 in debt. And it doesn't bother me at all. It actually, I took the loan out for the books on purpose to put my back up against the wall. And it definitely did. And it freaking got me all fired up. And now the books are going great because I came up with a huge program for that. I took the loan out to do some music, and now my music is going fine. It's one of those things where I enjoy it because it is a great discipliner. Not having a lot of cash makes me create a wedding planning business with a flower club for more supplemental income. If I'm not up against the fence like that, if I don't have hunger, if I'm not physically hurting for money, I don't take the time to do that because it's not a passion of mine. Singing at weddings is a passion of mine, but planning them isn't. And so I think it's one of those things that can be detrimental and both beneficial. The next one is the rich are always led by the pilot fish. This was just an interesting concept. So he talks about the people who are not rich, but yet suck up to the rich, pretending to be the rich. Looking for opportunities. They almost look for opportunities to take advantage, and then the rich see that, and then they come in and move into an area and do that. It was an interesting concept. I just wrote it down because I thought it was kind of fascinating that he was making this observation. The next one is all things truly wicked start from innocence. This was probably the most profound. In the book, he talks a lot about the writers cheating on their wives, the artists sleeping with multiple women to get inspiration. This one guy who his wife divorced him was having a horrible time with his member, and was concerned about it because she had mentioned something about it. It was just some really weird like talks on the way that artists operate, and anybody who knows an artist knows that artists write best from tragedy, artists write best from trial, and we almost think like, do we put those things on ourselves because subconsciously we know that we write through that. But the innocence of all things truly wicked start from an innocence was interesting, because a lot of people who start drinking start because they just want to socialize. A lot of people who start cheating on their wife, maybe it was an innocent thing where they just saw a pretty girl on the internet. The next book that I'm reading is The Shallows, and it talks about how the internet has changed the way that our brain works and our attention spans and everything. We'll get into that next week. But that's pretty much all I got from Ernest Hemingway's A Movable Feast. I'm gonna say, because Hemingway is Hemingway, I was a little disappointed because I expected more. I expected a mind blow. It was a great book. Not a whole lot of insights for me, but I think the things that I did pull out of it were huge for me in what I'm doing. So going into next week, going into these next 2 months, I'm looking at where I'm at now, physically, where I'm at in this county and in this state. And if I do truly value my movability, I can't even talk right now, the cloud has me, my ability to move, I need to rethink where I am and what I'm doing, because being able to move is such a benefit that not moving a lot could be detrimental. Used to be a time in my life where I would move every year, every 2 years, and I think that might be in the future for me. So we're gonna see. Next week, I don't have notes written down because I'm horrible. I'm gonna pull up my calendar and I'm just gonna tell you what's going on next week. I have. I'm gonna figure this stupid thing out. We're going to get more in-depth on the web page. I am going to start setting up shoot dates for my music video. We're going to re-release Sweep the Sound in November for Christmas, so I'm jazzed about that. I have a video shoot for a commercial on Wednesday, Thursday with a company in Oakdale, go figure. So I'll be out in Oakdale on Wednesday and Thursday of this week, because I'm behind, remember. And then on Friday I will be with JMS Photography doing a shoot. On Saturday, my buddy Sasters and Matt Cunningham, it's their birthday, so I'm going to meet up with them out in Lodi. Sunday I will be singing at Liberty Towers, and I will be playing for the first time Secrets in public. It's on my website right now if you guys want to check it out. I am not on social media right now. I did break my silence on Instagram to post a little snippet of Secrets, because that song is just killing me right now. I love it to death, and I had to get it out there because it was just irking on me. So I'm not on Twitter for this next book, The Shallows, that I'm reading, but the following week I'll be back on Twitter posting all the updates on this stuff. Thanks for watching, guys. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter. Make sure you follow the Dispersing the Cloud YouTube page. Dispersing the Cloud YouTube page. And I will talk to you guys on Sunday.